Welcome to Owning a Piece of America. I'm your host, Faith Bautista. Our guest today is Leda Bloomfield of Federal Housing Finance Agency. Welcome to FHFA, Federal
Housing Finance Agency.
There you go. There's so many acronyms in Washington, D.C.
There are. So I'm the branch chief for policy and equity in the Office of Fair Lending Oversight, which is in the Division of Housing Mission and Goals at the agency. And the division mostly works on policy matters related to the regulated entities, so Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the Federal Home Loan Banks. The Office of Fair Lending Oversight, we get to play dual roles in the agency. So we wear two hats. One is a supervision hat. They go in and do examinations of the regulated entities. So for fair lending compliance, fair housing compliance, really making sure that they follow all the rules that they're supposed to be doing. And so there's a team that goes in and does that. And then my team on the policy side, we work both on regulations, so rules that the federal government promulgates, as well as overseeing the conservatorship of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
And that's very, very important, right? Because with that policy, that will have an effect on consumer protection, lending, fair lending, and all kinds of things.
Yes, we're a small but mighty agency where I think we have an impact in everyday people's household decisions they make, especially when coming to both renting and buying a home. We're just a little bit in the background, but I would say, in terms of buying a home, a lot of your familiarity for a typical household would be with your real estate agent, with your lender, but in front of that, if you get a mortgage, the bank often doesn't hold it on its books, and so they'll go to the secondary market, which is often Fannie or Freddie, but it could be others, and sells that loan to Fannie and Freddie, and they guarantee payment on the loan and then repackage that and sell it to investors, which allows the banks to go turn around and have that money back to put more people into homes and provide more mortgages.
And so how does that affect the consumers, the home buyers, the first-time home buyers, the renters?
So the Fannie and Freddie, although they're not making the ultimate underwriting decision of whether you're qualified or not to get a mortgage, they are telling the banks whether they'll buy the loan or not. So they set out a lot of underwriting standards. So whether, and do a credit assessment to see whether they believe a consumer will be able to pay back their mortgage and is a good credit risk. So they set out a lot of rules and criteria where they'll look at all aspects of an applicant, whether you're paying your credit cards on time. The new this past year is they've started looking at rental payments.
I don't know if you know the disparity, for the different minority groups, and what does FHFA doing about it, because African American, Latino, and even Southeast Asian are just so behind in owning a home. What does Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, Federal Home Loan Bank,
What are we
and
all
FHFA,
doing?
what are you all doing about it?
Let me start by talking about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So we challenge them to create equitable housing finance plans, really identifying that there continues to be disparities along racial lines, though other protected classes, they have disparities as well. We really wanted to zero in on the racial disparities that we see. And so with the equitable housing finance plans, we acknowledge, right, that there continues to be disparities, and that a one-size-fits-all approach may not help reduce that disparities. So we want to have actions that broadly benefit all consumers, but at the same time specifically identify the barriers that specific groups face. So in the first iteration of the plans, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac looked at the barriers that Black and Latino families face. And I think it's really saying what barriers are there that are artificial or unnecessary. So it's not about reducing credit standards, but saying maybe we're not looking at this the way. Maybe we should include things like rent payments. But we believe that in future years it's really important to look at other groups, including, as you mentioned, Southeast Asians. Because when we look at the homeownership rates and underwriting rates, we do see significant disparities for certain Asian groups.
Speaking of Asian, I mean, you're Korean born. Can you talk a little bit about Leda Bloomfield?
Of course. So I was born in Uijeongbu, South Korea. My birth mother was a teenager. She was 15 when she got pregnant and was raising her siblings at the same time. I just didn't feel like she was able to give me the life and the opportunities that she wanted to. So I was put up for adoption. I lived in a children's home and orphanage in Korea for a few months before I was adopted and came to America. And really had just amazing opportunities in the United States. So I'm very thankful for all this country has given to me, and I feel like it is such an honor to be able to give back and be in public service.
What do you think you've learned from this, and what are you so proud also being a Korean?
Representation isn't enough, but it's sometimes half the battle, right? I grew up not seeing a lot of Asian Americans as role models on TV, in the media, in positions of power. And so I wouldn't say I'm in a position of power, but I do hope that I can be a role model for other people within the agencies and those wanting to go into federal service. And I think my daughter and I love to see now like Asian American celebrities. I know there's a lot more Asian American writers and movies. It is so meaningful. I want to make sure that there's more for my daughters and for other Asian Americans to see themselves, because we're so diverse.
So if you have 30 seconds to say about FHFA, what would you say?
FHFA is focused on making homes sustainable and fair and equitable for everyone. I think that doesn't mean just getting into the door into your home, but also being able to sustain your home, to afford it for the long term so you can really create the family memories that we all cherish.
Thank you again, Ms. Leda. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Faith.
Thank you once again for watching Owning a Piece of America. I'm your host, Faith Bautista. Take your piece.